So after a very first mediocre chapter from what we got to see of the new romance series that Shonen Jump had to offer, I've got to say Love Rush actually with its second chapter made it a little bit more enticing, a little bit more interesting, and actually bumped up the comedy levels a lot more to me. And I definitely got to say chapter 2 is a hell of a lot better than what chapter 1 was. So like where we ended off last week, we got to see like where like Reiji was like completely just covered in puss along like across every globe around there. It's like, oh my god, there's vampires, there's wolf girls, there's onis, there's like, and just I love that like his crush and all. It's just like, what's all this cosplay bullshit? You know, like, yo, you telling me something like Shizuka's just that like, you want to get rid of this shit, like, you know, like, want to do that, and like, Kokoro is like, oh my god, I need to go in there and all that, I just, like, you know, like, I can't leave, you know, like, Reiji to their mercies and all that, they're all gonna be actual wild animals, and you just see him, like, as he's, like, literally legging it with, like, and he's like, look, and all that, it's just a fucking gene, fuck off already. And they're like, oh, you can't be this gorgeous, and they see like this really big like stupid nose face guy that's like handsome, and he's just like, oh, but you know, that can't be true. And it's just like, even with like all the girls like just showing off more like, yeah, like a vampire chick, which I'm not gonna like, I got a giggle from that mainly because fucking like she's just shoved like a ton of fucking garlic in her mouth like nothing, and then she literally slammed down like this ogre like bitch and all that with like just flipping her over with some judo, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like going for that, and it's just like, okay. And then getting abducted by aliens, I was like, oh, okay, this is where we're going right now. Everyone's doing it, and then Kokoro literally goes right at the end and all that, saying, oh no, stay away from Reiji, I'm gonna save them. He's like hugging him, and then turning out it's like, which no surprise here, and it's like, I feel like the show at this point is like, do you really want to take more from To Love Ru than you already have? Where it's like, oh, Princess Kokoro is rumored in the celestial realm to be the greatest beauty of the millennium and all that. She's top tier and all that of the princesses and all that. And it's like, oh, so she's a princess like Lala and she's an actual babe and all that, but she's a little bit kind of ditzy, although not as like mentally challenged as how Lala feels sometimes. But even still, I was like, that was the bit where it's like, oh, this guy's taking so much influence from this fucker, and it's like, I mean, I can't blame him and all that. It's a super, but it's like, everyone says like, oh no, like, oh my god, you've already got Kokoro. It's like, oh, I'm super jelly about this shit. You got the biggest like babe, and it's like, no, screw it, we're gonna do it anyway. And it's like firing arrows. It's like, no, we're gonna cool you guys off. And even like the bit that got me in the chapter was like, you know, like after all this saying like, you helped me make up my mind and all that, like, you know, Kokoro, thank you and all that. And she drops like, you know, drops down after like being tickled, and he literally professes his love to Shizuku right there and then. And it's no bullshit where it's like, oh wait a minute and all that. It's saying, you know, I didn't hear it, or something made me say I didn't hear that. It's like, generally she heard it, and it's just like, she generally heard everything, and everyone heard this shit and all that, and they're like, no, fuck this, we're still gonna get after you. And like literally Kokoro like, you know, interferes with them, and it's saying like, the thing is with her especially was like, you know, about what you said and all that, he said like, I don't really know what to like is to like a boy. I've never thought about you or any boy in that way and all that, and it's like, not even once in my life. And she's like getting really upset and all that. I've never thought about it, like she's just like, I don't know. She looks like she's gonna cry, and she just runs out, and she's like, I'll see you later. And I guess that's something, alright. Whereas like chapter 2 is like, we've already got a confession, we already know, and it's like, but there's a twist in all that, and it's saying like, what she means she don't know how to love, and it's like, it's thinking like, well, maybe Kokoro is someone that can make her understand what love is, and it's just like, then she's gonna understand. It's like, no, Kokoro actually, you know, like is in love, and it's gonna switch around. Like, I feel like that's where it's gonna go, where it's so much pushing towards like, oh, it's gonna be Kokoro that is the girl that be hooked up and all that in the end and all that, but with the rom-com like situation. And like, I like that part of the chapter where it's like, okay, look, the comedy, which for the most part and all that, which was you know, a big important part of the rom-com, I liked it. It was very slapstick at like points and all that, but I thought it helps with like how blunt kind of Shizuku is like for the most part. But I was like, oh my boy, like like, this is, I feel like I'm having the Black Clover situation like with this series and all that, with the romance. It's like, you really need to stop getting off the coattails of like other series, especially like the To Love Ru at this point. It's just blatant, like just blatantly taking a lot from that series. I'm like, I really hope that isn't the case and all that, but it's, you know, it's adding the mix in between, like, oh no, but I'm a Cupid, like, you know, girl, so, you know, I do appreciate that. The question is though, like, how are we going to do with like other characters? And like, it just screams to me that this series isn't doing or so far as how is this series going to keep itself relevant, or how is it going to keep itself, saying, oh, I need to be in the top rank, because so far, apart from a couple of gags and all that, they were funny. They weren't belchers or oh my god, my spleen is hurting. But it's I'm worried this series is something that needs to really update and and do some better stuff on that. And I've heard from definitely when the first chapter was talking about, a lot of people were saying that the E-Robot series was actually a lot from what people are saying so far is E-Robot was a lot better than this, and it sounds like he's dumbing down his material. And I don't know about E-Robot and all that. I don't know if that was any good and all that. I've never checked a single chapter, but that's kind of a little weird. It's you go it sounds like you had one idea and you kind of ran out of it. It's just okay, so you go do a new thing, and it's oh well, what works successfully? And it's I don't know. I feel like I'd be a massive hypocrite if I was saying I'm definitely enjoying what it was and all that with Yuki Tabata, but the difference is though, is the main reason I kind of gave Black Clover a little less slack for it is because he had a series that I absolutely loved previously, and I know that he could do good material, but this guy is completely brand new to me, and even with people saying E-Robot was fine and it was nothing too groundbreaking, it's and this series coming out very from the start, and it's I'm not too sure on it. So I definitely want to keep up with the jump starts though, so I probably will stick around with this series until chapter 3, unless it really does turn around and all that. That is actually really enjoyable. But so far, I don't really see a future in this series as being the Nisekoi replacement that it's supposed to be, and that's a shame, because stuff like Nisekoi I really enjoyed at the start, and a bunch of other romance, even rom-com series as well. But this is the one that's just not really ticking it for me so far and all that. But even still, I would say that this chapter is better than chapter 1. I will say that much, but not by a large margin. I will overall though give this a 6 out of 10. I do think it's a fine chapter, but then as well, I hope people don't think I'm being too harsh about that, and it's definitely think I'm being very hypocritical with it stuff with the Clover stuff, because it's even still Clover I feel has a little bit more to offer, and even still with that, it's the previous stuff, he's been shown he can definitely do stuff, and so far and all that, it's this guy, I don't know his material that well, but for what I've been shown so far, it's stuff that isn't very impressive to me so far, so that's a shame and all that, but I really hope that, at least by chapter 3 and all that, I can actually start caring a little bit of the characters, since there is some stuff in here that I do like, and I do like Kokudo. I think she's absolutely adorable. I think she's really cool and all that, and I really want to see a little bit more about her, but apart from that, that's all for me though. So ladies and gentlemen, so thank you much for watching as always, and let me know you guys in the comment section down below, but I will see you guys though next time.